We are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning. You are joining us for the Christian Anime Podcast. I hope you're all having a lovely, lovely morning. We'll just wait for a couple of people to join in, join into stream. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right. Well, today's topic of discussion concerns Sakamoto Days. Um, Sakamoto Days, Sakamoto Days, Sakamoto Days. The only reason why we're talking about this is purely because this is one of the principles that I use whenever watching anime and whenever like if I if I ever want to um continue watching an anime, it's like, is it worth continuing to watch this anime? That's a terrible thing to say. Jesus is coming. And I wish you never say that again. That's a terrible thing to say. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is why we need moderators here. It's like, yeah. Um yes, so Sakamoto Days, I try to I really if an anime is like, oh hey, I'm gonna keep my attention while watching this anime. I'll give you an example, so I'm not just yapping. For example, Amaku MD. I've been really into this season, because it's like it's interesting. I like the mystery aspect. It goes a bit all over the place. One of the reviews down here was like, it's bad because it doesn't know. Yeah, here we go. This show is not as clever as it wants to be. Just go watch House MD instead, please. It's a detective show cosplaying as a medical drama, but the decision making and characterization of the MC and those around her just make no sense to who they are as physicians and don't make any of them likable. Now, I severely disagree with that. Like it's one of those things, right? Which is like, what was it? Yes, it's a detective show cosplaying as a medical drama, but that's what makes it good, right? It doesn't know, even though Amaku MD doesn't quite know what it is, what genre it's meant to fit in. Um, it's still interesting because you're here for the mystery aspect. You're here for the fact that there's stuff going on that can't quite be explained. Um, so for example, I think the in the first episode, like a guy comes in, his leg has been chopped off and he's got blue blood, right? And you're like, how are they gonna solve this? And it's interesting. Like it's interesting how they solve the fact that this guy died with blue blood in him. Um, welcome eccentric Ed Tamar. The other aspect of it, the second case was, okay, this girl watched this supposedly cursed video and then she started walking towards she started walking towards the train line and almost got hit by I think no, she did get hit by a train because she did get injured. There you go. You're just having a lovely breakfast. Well, I'm glad you're having a lovely breakfast while I'm here, so there you go. That's Amiku MD, right? Which is why, like, I'm still watching it. Like, it's not the most amazing animation, but you watch it because it's very cool. Like, it's really cool to follow this group of people as they solve like these mysteries. The latest one is like this mystery concerning like people being set on fire. Like they just explode and they just explode in a burst of fire. So there you go. What anime am I talking about? This one, Amaku MD. That's what I'm referring to. Welcome, silly salami slapper. I'm glad you could make it on. So there you go. That's why I'm like, Amaku MD. I'm like, I'm still interested. I'm still watching. Um, might be it's not dropping down to like it might drop down to a 6 out of 10 if I'm ever bored with it. But it's still like I'm happy to keep it at a 7 for now. All right, cool. So there's that. Is this something related to medicine? Yes. So it's basically, yeah, it's a well, MD is like, I don't know what MD stands for. Wait. That's a MD meaning. Um, Doctor of Medicine, abbreviated MD, Medicine A Doctor. Yeah. Okay. Cool. And that's new. So yeah, because the main character is a doctor. You can see here. She's a doctor. Um, so there you go. And that's the same reason why I'm still watching Apothecary Diaries, right? Like, Apothecary Diaries, oh my goodness. I do love the animation of Apothecary Diaries, actually. It's good enough animation that I'm like, this is actually good animation. Amiku MD it's a bit mid in terms of animation, but Apothecary Diaries, oh my goodness. Like, it's still beautiful to watch, right? This is another reason why we continue watching anime. It's just like we want something that actually looks good, and my eyes aren't being burned by bad CG. So, Apothecary Diaries. There's a couple of mysteries like here and there, and like there, like I'm interested in how the because there's like these envoys from a foreign country visiting the palace, and I'm interested in how they fit into everything. So um it's I don't think it hasn't it's not that it started off slow. It's just like they're setting the pieces, they're setting the puzzle pieces in place, and I'm just interested to see where they're gonna go with it. Like, are the envoys actually wanting to unalive all of the concubines? Like, that's kind of my that's my interest in this anime. And like all of the characters here, I really like them. And of course there's like that subplot between these two, which is like, are they gonna get together, are they not gonna get together? Like, it's that weird thing, like, does he actually really like her, or does she like him? Like, those kinds of things. Welcome, Red Hussar, glad you can make it on stream. All right, and then that brings me to Blue Box as well, which is like, this character here was just recently introduced in the latest episode. I'm I have, as I've always kept saying, like, I have a love-hate relationship with Blue Box, because it's like, um, even from the last episode, right, which is like, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but there's some really nasty stuff that happens in the last episode of Blue Box. Um, and it was another misunderstanding, and I don't like it when whenever there's a misunderstanding and then they just don't communicate whatsoever. So yeah, that's Blue Box, really odd. um I really it's one of those things, right, which is like, it's been left on a cliffhanger with like this massive misunderstanding between mainly between Taiki and Chinatsu. um and yeah, well, at least the story is progressing, at least the story is interesting enough for me to be like, yep, let's continue watching this, because I'm actually interested and I actually like the characters and I'm actually invested in them. Welcome, John D. So the reason for that, like, big building up of me talking about why I'm still watching each of these three anime, let's come back to Sakamoto Days, which I have recently dropped, mainly because I think it was of episode 6. I'm not familiar with Blue Box. Also, what is your reaction when someone announced that Bocce will have a second season? Well, I thought I posted it on a community post. Um, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for Bocce the Rock season 2, actually. There you go. This was on my community post the other day. There you go. There you go. That's my excitement for it. I'm really, nothing ever happens, says Luke. No, stuff does happen. Stuff does happen. The fact that season 2 of Bocce the Rock was just announced, like, stuff does happen. It's like 2 years now, 2 to 3 years since the last season. Well, I also love the art for it. Like, um, it's I like it. It's very cool. Let's hope it's not just filler. Well, I don't think it is. Well, it's a slice of life anime. I plan to watch Bocce first season, but because of your video, I find it interesting. That's one of my favorite videos that I've done recently, which is like the how Bocce the Rock led me closer to Christ. I'm planning to do another one of those with a separate anime. I won't spoil it for you, but you'll see it in due time. I can relate to Bocce based on her personality. Yes, yes, yes. I think that's why everyone like even everyone on right wing anti Twitter, right? There's that meme which is like, this is relatable. She's literally me, and it's because like she captures that persona that introverts often have. Like the people who don't like Bocce the Rock. I've seen people on my anime list who are like, oh, doesn't anyone else find Bocce the Rock, like doesn't anyone else find Hitori like really really annoying? And no, we don't find her annoying. We find her relatable because that's literally like everyone who likes this show has experienced being a introvert before. Like that's the that's the reason why it's so relatable. That's the reason why like it resonates so much with me. It resonates so much with my story. It's part of my testimony. Yeah, but like unironically, Bocce the Rock is part of my testimony. Um, and yeah, yeah, that's just the way it is. So um, that's why I'm excited. I'm an introvert, and it makes more even more sense. Okay, I will say one of the discussions surrounding Bocce is whether or not she's an introvert, and I don't think she is. She's not an introvert. She just has social anxiety. It's explained in one of the episodes because I think it's Ryo who says like Ryo. There's this scene where Ryo is like, I'm an introvert. Sorry, I'm an introvert, and I like being alone. um, but Bocce, she doesn't like being like, she wants to be with friends. Like she wants to have friends. It's just that she has social anxiety, and that's why um she can't actually talk to people. This was explained to me really well by someone. And I just wanted to point that out as well, which is like, no, it's not that she's introverted. She just has social anxiety. Bocce historian right here. Yes. No, it's a Bocce anthropologist. I'm a Bocce. You know what? You know why I'm an expert on Bocce? Silly salami slapper. It's because she's my wife, and I know everything that my wife does. Oh, like Bocce has struggled on communicating with people. Yes, rather than introverted. So yeah, yeah. All right. So let's come back to Sakamoto Days. Yeah, that's the other reason, right? Bocce the Rock, freaking amazing because like it's relatable. I like it. Like it's interesting enough to keep my attention. It's actually funny. Like those are the sorts of things that help me relate to an anime. Then comes Sakamoto Days, and the main reason why I just dropped it. I love it. Like I really this is in the same vein as Spy Family as me, which is like I like Spy Family and I like Sakamoto Days because it has a positive presentation of a positive presentation of a traditional family, right? Which is like it's pro-natalist propaganda, which is why I love it, right? Which is like, oh, you should get married, have kids. That's those are like the underlying themes of Sakamoto Days and Spy Family. But then there's this thing which is like, oh, it's meant to be a comedy. It's meant to be funny, and I'm just not laughing, right? I I recently had this on the Discord server where people are like, Sakamoto Days is funny. Spy Family Days is funny. And as I watch each episode, it's just not funny. It's just not my humor. I think if you find people being put in random like ridiculous situations funny, like in the last episode where um they joined like this paintball competition, and then the sniper guy like tried to turned on them and then started shooting at them with an actual gun, right? It's just it wasn't funny to me, right? It wasn't like it just happened. It's just a thing that happened, that they all joined as part of a team of this paintball competition, in order to get like 1 million yen or however much money it was, and then after that they turned on them, and then like this guy started just shot at them, and then they here's his backstory. Here's his backstory why he's very angry, and wants this money and actually wants to prove himself as a hitman. Like these are the sorts of things which are it's just not funny to me. You're just putting these people in a situation, and that's it. Like that's all it is. Spy Family Days. This message has been approved by Shinzo Abe, for real, for real. Based on what I watched the episode, I don't know. The Spy Family comedy isn't really my thing. That's the thing, right? Which is like when you say to me it's funny, I don't get what you mean. Like, how is it funny? How is this stuff funny to me? Like, is it just like I think it's just your sort of humor, and it's like um it is silly. That's a good word to say, to describe it. It's silly. It's trying to be funny by being silly, and for me, it's just not there. I know Annie Rascal on the server like genuinely finds it as funny, and I know Nick with no K, like no disrespect to him, but he also genuinely thinks that it's funny too. Um, but yeah, I just don't think it is. It's wholesome. Yeah, that's for sure. It's wholesome. Never seen the Spy Family anime personally. Yeah, I wouldn't like if it's your sort of humor, like just watch the first three episodes. If it's your sort of humor, keep watching it. Like this is my big disappointment with Spy Family actually, because the first episode really sets the first, second, and third episode really sets expectations. Um, and I was more expecting it to be like kind of serious, and like it's kind of serious. There's some stuff that randomly happens throughout the show, um, but it's still wholesome. Um, what else? Yeah, it's still wholesome, and there's that there's that funny part about him actually having to take care of the child. I thought the majority of the comedy would be him taking care of Anya, and him having to deal with your those sorts of things, right? I thought it would be that kind of funny, but Spy Family funny is not funny because it's just like random stuff happening, and I'm just like not. Oh, don't get me started on Shikanoko Noko Noko Kosh Tan Tan. Um, oh, don't get me started on that. Give me a second, guys. I'm just gonna be right back. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Um, let's look at Shika Noko 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 Kosh Tan Tan. I'm just. This is the sort of funny which is just unfunny. It's trying to like. It's the same joke over and over again. Like the joke is deer. That's it. Like episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, episode 6, episode 7, episode 8, episode 9, episode 10, 11, and 12. The joke is deer. And that is it. Like there's no it's not funny. Like if the joke every episode is that deer, here's deer, we put deer in this situation, um it's just like yeah, and random stuff happens. Like, come on now. It's just like the worst thing to ever happen. The sister relationship was so weird. I thought that was them trying to be funny, and that was actually funny. I think it was there was stuff that they did try out, right, which is like the exaggeration of certain character elements, the exaggeration, yeah, like the exaggeration of like character tropes, I should say. That was actually funny to me. Um, but other than that, it's just like, oh, it's just so unfunny because it's just like deer. It's deer every episode. Every episode is just deer, and you're expected to laugh. And sometimes I just don't, I just don't laugh. I was almost gonna watch this Shikanoko anime, but I don't know if it's that good. No, it's not that good. Like even my rating right now, it's very close to me just putting it to 4 because it's just like unfunny. But I don't know. I don't know. The brain rot anime. It is a like that's it. It's brain rot. It's brain rot. A lot of people compare this to Nichijou, but the thing with Nichijou is that it's it's actually funny. Um, the way that Nichijou does its comedy is actually clever. It's actually clever. It's not just random, and it follows the characters, right? Like there's still a story that that is followed here in Nichijou. But with Shika Noko 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 Kosh Tantan, there's barely a story that we're following. And it's just so unfunny. It's just all it is. This isn't off topic. Ranking of Kings, I haven't watched yet, so there you go. The point is to be so stupid that it becomes funny. It's like some old soap operas. But it's just like, really? Like, it is. I prefer. I really like comedy. The reason why, like, some of my favorite comedians are even though Ricky Gervais is like very atheist. Um, some of my favorite comedians are Ricky Gervais or who's the other guy? Jimmy Carr. Um, there are some like American comedians who are like American comedians are okay. I can't think of any right now who are like super funny. Ryan George, I think it's Ryan George. It's the guy who it's the young guy comedian from America who's very libertarian. I think he's closer to libertarian. But there's a reason why I like British comedy. And British comedy is genuinely funny for me. The reason why is because it doesn't like British comedy has a respect for their audience's intelligence. Unlike American comedy as well. Like American comedy falls into this weird thing where it's like it tries to be so stupid to be funny as well. I think that's a good way to describe it. So um yeah, that's why I think like some Japanese comedy is just like it's just that and it's like not that funny. Um yeah, that's that's all I can say. Because like British comedy is genuinely it's genuinely there for it's genuinely there, like it's genuinely clever. It doesn't assume the audience is super thick. So yeah, American cartoon comedy is worse, but our stand-up comedians are the best. I haven't seen a lot of good stand-up comedy from the United States. So yeah, Shane Gillis, some of his stuff, like this is the other thing I think with a lot of American comedians, which is they just resort to sex jokes sometimes, and it's just like, bruv, like it's just like, bruv, bruv. Um, Abhishek asks, there was a comment on a vid where someone said there is actual lore happening in the background and is about some Shinto god related to deers. You know what? Hey, that's cool. Like, if that's the case, hey, that's cool. But if the actual show itself is trash, then no. I'm not, like, I don't care. I don't care if there's lore. Like this. Okay, this is the thing, right? Which is like Five Nights at Freddy's lore. The reason why Five Nights at Freddy's lore is the thing is like the games themselves are actually good and they're actually scary and like you actually like playing the games. And that's why you like the lore. And this is why when you get stuff like it's the neighbor game. I can't remember what the neighbor game is, but the neighbor game was really bad because like, it was trying to push so much lore onto everyone. But the game itself was terrible. Um, I'm probably not gonna ever do the Buddha and Jesus being bros anime. Main reason why is because it's probably very like it's probably got like this weird influence, like because the reason being is because like welcome Marco, you just joined the server as well. Welcome Marco. Hello neighbor. Yeah, that's the name I was looking for. Filipino comedians on some classic films are super funny, even though some were exaggerated. But you like the humor. I have a This is something that I really try to be careful with, right? Which is like, there's a reason why we as Christians, um, I I I prefer if a show has like a respect for Jesus. Um, John 14:6 is what I'm looking for. Is because it's from Jesus's words himself, which is what does Jesus say about himself? He says, right here, whoops, he says right there, Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Which is why, like, yeah, the Buddha and Jesus anime, I expect to be super blasphemous, right? And like whenever we start doing these things, right, like saying, oh, Jesus is exactly the same as Buddha, and they're actually like, if we were just nice to each other and if we just accepted everyone's beliefs, then well, they're basically the same. Buddhism and Christianity are just basically the same, and they have the same. No, they're not basically the same. We have very different worldviews. And even Jesus himself, what he says there himself, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Like, there is an exclusivity to Christianity because, like, Jesus's message, the reason why Jesus's message is so impactful and so like and so extraordinary and so amazing is because he not only does he say that he is the only, like, he is the source of love itself. He is love itself, right? He demonstrates love itself by dying on the cross. Did Buddha do that for me? Right? Did Buddha die on the cross for my sins? No, he did not. No, he did not. Which is why like I follow this guy. I follow Jesus, and the reason why I'm Christian, and the reason why we reject, like, of course there might be good things, there might be things we agree with Buddhism, right? But we don't fully accept everything because Jesus is like, no one comes to the Father except through Jesus. I have a questions. What are your opinions about an anime portraying God? For example, it's so weird why some isekai animes mention God. Um, this is the thing, right? Which is like, I think that it's that thing which is like, it's part of the Japanese psyche. I've had this conversation with a couple of people on the server, but I think it's part of the Japanese psyche to be like very edgy atheist, which is to be like, you see a lot of anime which are like, oh, I want to fight God, basically, and then they defeat God. So that's ultimately it. In Buddhism, there is no sin that he will die for you. Women can't enter. Really? Could we get a fact check on that, John D? Sorry, Abhishek. Can we get a fact check on that? If that's true, that women can't enter the Buddhist heaven nirvana instead unless they reincarnate as a man, that just goes to show that just goes to show how good Christianity is, because like, Jesus accepts you the way you are. And Abhishek, the fact that in Buddhism there is no sin, well, that's just cringe, right? Because what do we see every time? Like, what do we see around the world? We see sin. We see sin. Um, Usual problem of evil stuff, right? Which is like, atheists complain, oh, if there was a loving God, why is there so much evil? If there is no loving God, then there is no such thing as evil, right? It's just a fact of life that stuff happens. I mean, that's, well, let's get let's get a fact check from Abhishek. I've never heard of this ever, even in vids by my parents, etc., though I am not Buddhist. Okay, cool. There are two major schools of Buddhism, the big boat Buddhism and small boat Buddhism. Big boat might be more tolerant. Yeah, it is what it is. Um, Most isekai are polytheistic. The gods are minor supernatural beings. Yeah, I'd probably I'd agree with you, Paleon's Remnant, actually. That's probably a closer one. Buddha has been recorded to be acting like a poor person on occasion in pursuit of enlightenment. Those are the other things, right? Which is like, Christianity says, what does Christianity say about wealth? It's okay to have money. It's just use it to glorify God, right? So there you go. Aze says Buddha taught, it should be taught, self-salvation through a meditation called, what is that? Nothing to do with what Jesus Christ is. Yeah, if you're like saving yourself, that's kind of cringe. I don't think you can save yourself. Give me a second. My door seems to have opened by itself. Up, 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 up. Honestly, it would be cool if there's an anime that talks about Jesus. The Last Days anime is good. Well, it's not technically an anime, but it's just like a short OVA, I'm assuming. There is a thing called karma in Hinduism, and Buddhism, instead of sin, you have to earn good karma to escape the cycle of rebirth. Well, I that's the other thing about Christianity, right? Which is like you don't work to reach like the end goal. You don't work to reach the final goal of human attainment because Jesus has just done it for you. The only thing you do is to um, is believe. No, don't worry. It's not that it's self-opening. It's just the air pressure in my house, because the door wasn't closed properly. It probably opened by itself. It's like something like Genshin Impact. It is fine as long as we're not worshiping those gods. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Which is like I'm okay with like with the world having like its own like religious system or god system. It's kind of similar like the way I treat Freerun, right? Because Freerun has the religion in Freerun is like the worship of the goddess rather than god, which is like is a weird part of the anime. I'd like to learn more about like the religious worldview of that of Sosuno Freeman. But ultimately, it's like it's okay because it's fictional. Like we're not actually saying that this is real. Like in this world, a god still exists. So that's perfectly fine with me. Kyle Rayner says, "Have you heard of an anime called Chrono Crusade? I checked out this anime from the early 2000s, and for the longest time I thought that it was Christian, but it could be wrong. Chrono Crusade? Um, oh boy, that looks cool. Um, I don't know. The 1920s was a great decade of change and upheaval, with monstrous demons appearing across America. To combat this menace, the holy organization known as the Order of Magdalene was established. The organization's New York branch is home to the young and reckless Sister Rosette Christopher, as well as her partner Crono. Tasked with the extermination of demonic threats, the renowned team is excellent at their job despite causing extensive collateral damage on their missions. Okay, I that's a bit of a red flag to me because that feels like, oh, it's trying to be funny, which I hope it's not. However, both Rosette and Chrono are driven by their dark pasts. Though exterminating demons, Rosette hopes to find her lost brother Joshua, who was taken by the sinner and demon Aeon, with whom Chrono also shares a bloody history. The two of them must fight off the increasingly dangerous demonic menace and discover its source while continuing to search for the truth behind Joshua's disappearance. That sounds really cool. That's actually, even though this is like, what is it, 2004? Even though it's 2004, this might qualify for a Christian anime video. So there you go. I am Hindu atheist. I don't believe in any of the magical stuff in any religion. I see it as different traditions, so I do think different people with different faith should be able to coexist. Of course, like I believe in coexistence. It's just that um it's perfectly like coexistence is a good thing. It's a good thing that we live in a society that where we're coexisting. It's just that when you start getting like this secular garbage where it's like, actually all religions are exactly the same, and they should just be nice to each other. No, like that's garbaggio, right? It's completely disrespectful. I think it's incredibly disrespectful if I say to a Buddhist, your religion is basically the same as mine. Right? That's the that's it. Welcome, Christian connoisseur. Welcome, welcome. Um, Jam is having dinner right now. Well, it's amazing that we have three people. One's having lunch, one's having breakfast, and one's having dinner. I think that's a really cool thing that we're that this has happened, that we have come to this situation. This is a coin toss 50-50, either super cool or extra cringe. Yeah, I don't know. I this is like I love the character designs. Like that's freaking cool. Like that's really cute. That's really cute. Mr. Worldwide. Speaking of Mr. Worldwide, I recently posted this on Twitter. Um, but I do want to highlight this. Which was like I recently looked at like the analytics because it shows you which countries people are watching from, and I shared last stream, right, which is like 50% of this 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 channel's audience is watching from the United States. All religions aren't the same, maybe similar in some aspects, but still secularism means separation of state and religion. And that's okay. That's also, I think when people all also talk about like, oh, we need separation of church and state, you can't ever get that. You're always going to get like, even though it might not be a religion, secularism is still a worldview. You still need a worldview to inform the way that society works. And for people to say, "Oh, I don't want religion being involved in politics," well, you need to have some worldview, right? Like let's take the example of like taxation policy. Some people believe taxation should be higher. Some people believe taxation should be lower. Those who believe it should be higher are considered as those on the center left because they believe in taxing maybe the taxing the upper class and then redistributing the wealth amongst the people. There are those who believe that taxes should be lower because the government should be less involved in the economy and people should be able to use their money by themselves, and that's their prerogative to do so. Okay, purely on taxation policy, you could describe those two ideologies behind that, right? Which is like the socialist socialist ideology and more pro-capitalist ideology. You could describe those as religions. You know why? It's because socialism has its own Bible, like the Communist Manifesto. Or well, it's like okay, let's be more kind to them. But socialism has its own books, has its own texts, it has its religious texts, it has its prophets, right? There are people who are socialists, maybe like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or who are some prominent socialists. Jean-Luc Mélenchon. There's not really any in the UK. I'm trying to think of like really prominent socialists. I'm just not thinking. Oh, Bernie Sanders, right? Those are the prophets of socialism. For the pro-capitalist side, it's like, like those who are libertarian, right? They have their own books, they have their own prophets, like, or the people who write their ideologies. So you can never separate, even like ideology is just another name for religion, right? It's just that like you have to have this worldview from somewhere. So when someone says, "Oh, religion and the state should never mix," well, you're already doing it. You're already doing it with the fact that you have an ideology. Like it's you can't scientifically prove your ideology as well. It's like it's because where does this belief that we should tax the rich in order to redistribute it to everyone else? That's a religious idea, right? It's not like a scientific idea. It's not just like this idea that that you can prove that this is the best thing that you could do in society, right? So these are religious ideas. Secularism is specifically about separation of religion and state, not every and any ideology. No, and I'm saying like I'm just telling you that that's a dumb idea because that you're using an unfair you're unfairly judging religion when ideology is just basically the same. Ideology is the same thing, right? This is the thing with communism. I think communism is the funniest thing ever because they're like, "Oh, we're anti-religion and we want to separate church and state." You know what they do? Communism is it itself a church, right? The church of communism, because they have their own text, like they have their religious text, the Communist Manifesto. They have their prophets, Marx and Engels. They have the prophet of Vladimir Lenin. They have the prophet of Gramsci in Italy. They had their prophet of Stalin, right? Those are the things, right? Communists gaslit themselves into believing their worldview is as scientific as physics. So yeah, so that's why I think it's like whenever secularism is like, oh, separation between church and state. Well, you don't really do that. You know why? It's because you have ideology, and ideology is basically religion. Religion is ideology, and ideology is religion. It's just the sources of the. So it's just that whenever the way that someone comes with, no, they are not the same. I don't think you will like living under Sharia law or French style feudal system controlled by the church. I'm actually like feudalism wasn't actually that bad. So there you go. Um, and Sharia law, of course, wouldn't want to live under Sharia law. That's why I would introduce my own religion, right? So that's what. um, because okay, that's probably the one good thing about secularism, which is it's the no, actually no, it's not a good thing that because I would still I'd support theocracy like Christian theocracy. So there you go, there you go. Feudalism and yeah, compared to today, feudalism ain't that bad. um, people talk about like how bad feudalism is, but the fact that feudalism still allowed people personal autonomy, like you're working, like how is feudalism any different from like the what's happening today, right? Like we are under servitude of the state or under servitude of an employer, and we work incredibly hard. Capitalism is good because like we get more technology, but the system that we have today is no different from feudalism. We just replaced the king with a couple other people. The English peasants had better working hours than us modern Westerners. Yes, religion cannot save me, but my personal relationship with Christ. Okay, yeah, well, I won't get into the semantics, but yeah, of course, like Christianity is the only religion which requires a relationship, that has a relationship, that you have a relationship with the creator of the universe. The reason why secular exists is because if a single religion gets state power, it will eradicate or oppress anyone who exists from a different religion. Well, isn't that any how's that any different from like the religion of communism, right? Communism, if the religion of communism gets into power, it eradicates and oppresses anyone who exists from a different religion. Or the bundle of sixism. I need to be super careful. Like bundle of sixism, you know, the ideology that that German guy followed. When when bundle of sixism gets into the state power, it will eradicate or oppress anyone who exists from a different religion. How's that any different from what the Democrats did with the Republicans, right? What happened in the US for the last 4 years under Joe Biden, when they heavily persecuted the Republicans, right? Um, how's that any different from like center left policy, right? They don't like eradicate. They don't eradicate or like there is that still that level of oppression, right? Where the rich, or if you're a business owner, you're being oppressed by the state because you're being heavily taxed from the center left government. Or if you're like socialist, you're being oppressed because you're not getting your government benefits because like the center right government just cut everything. So it's no different, right? What you're saying is no different from ideology. Like the point still stands. Ideology is religion, and religion is ideology. Um, is Trinity blood? I haven't even. I've Uh, I don't actually know a lot of like old anime, so I don't comment on any oh boy. I feel like I've been told this anime I've I know of this anime. I just haven't watched it yet. If Christians who are subservient to the church make the laws, it's just church and state with extra steps. Isn't there a difference between the church and say the leader who happens to be Christian? And that's the biggest thing about secularism, right? Which is like when there's someone, one of the last prime minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, was a Christian, right? He was Pentecostal, and every time he opened his mouth about saying something which was like inspired by his religious worldview, everyone was just like, grr, grr, stop, church and state separate. Like you're being cringe, Scott Morrison. That's the biggest thing with secularism, right? Which is if you're if you try and if you try and push your ideology, or even what's happening in the U.S. right now, people are like, "Oh, separation of church and state with with this with Donald Trump is being eroded." Well, it's like you just want your religion. You don't. Of course, you disagree when our religion is expanding in influence, but of course, your religion of secularism, like you're perfectly fine with it if it continues to oppress people. So yeah, there you go. Just because non-religious ideologies can be tyrannical doesn't mean all are the same or religious ideologies are the same. Well, okay, that's exactly what. Okay, no, I just listed you a bunch of ways in which all. Let's go through. Let's literally go through every ideology, mainstream, ideology. Okay, let's just like progressivism and conservatism. So conservative government. If the conservative religion gets into power, they oppress the progressive religion. You know how? It's because they do it through lower taxes for businesses, through less government power, by cutting a bunch of spending, and they are oppressing those progressives who may have been using. Oh, whoops. Oh, it's so Jover. It's so Jover. Wait. Okay. No, I'm back. I'm apparently back. But the streaming might allegedly be not enough. So my sincerest apologies, guys, if my internet is cutting out. All right. Every ideology. Dang, you've got plans for tomorrow. Let's not go through every ideology then. All right. So even if the conservative religion goes into the religion of conservatism gets into power, right? They are oppressing progressives by cutting budgets, cutting all of the funding for all of these public programs, cutting funding for healthcare, cutting funding for maybe for for healthcare, or cutting funding for schools. So people are being oppressed in that way. Okay. If the progressive religion gets into power, how are they oppressing people? They're oppressing the upper class by increasing taxes on them. They're oppressing all of us by increasing inflation, by spending so much money, right? So that's kind of what those are the sorts of things, right? You consider yourself politically neutral or more centrist? Well, you should. I think Christians should have like political positions, right? Rules aren't just straight up oppression. Well, they are. They just are. They basically are. Oh well, maybe the rule, like for example, the laws on murder, right? Laws on unaliving people. You are oppressing murderers by not letting them practice their want and need to people, right? So I think when the ideology, everything is inherently ideological or inherently religious, right? And that's my main point. And for you to be saying that it's not, I think you're just being dishonest. You're being dishonest with the fact with it. What makes secular ideologies a religion are ideologies gods. They are more than ideas. What do you mean by it is a religion? Well, okay, let's when we think about traits that make up a religion, right? You have religious texts, you have ideas which underpin that religion, right? You have you have an ideology which underpins that religion, right? So caste system. That's another thing, right? Well, how is the caste system any different from the class system that occurs in the UK as well, right? There's a class system between the lower class, middle class, and upper class, and like there's very little movement between those classes as well. So like you can see all of like every there are a lot of parallels between different religious ideas and different political or economic ideas in the case of the class system. So they have religious texts. They have their prophets as well. They have their prophets which advocate for their religion. That's what I mean. That ideology, and also like ideologies can't be specifically proven. So let's look at like the idea of communism, right? Or like more socialist left-wing ideas. So leftists talk about equality a lot of the time. Can you scientifically prove? Can you scientifically prove that the that left? Sorry. Can you scientifically prove that it's a good thing that the rich should be taxed and that wealth should be redistributed to the rest of the to the lower class. No, you can't. That's not a sign. That's not a thing that you can scientifically prove. If you are saying that the rich, like, it is a morally good thing for the, what is that? My stream should be fine now. It says excellent connection, so my sincerest apologies, everyone. So, so that's my answer to you, Jesus, which is what makes a ideology religious, and like ideology and religion are basically the same, because you're trying to push forward a set of ideas. You have your own prophets, you have your own religious texts. You have an end goal, right? What's the end goal of communism, right? Which is like, it's this utopia. which is funnily enough the same thing that every other religion, yeah, every ideology also has an end goal of what their idea of utopia is. So when we look at like bundle of sticksism, and what that German guy was yapping about, the end goal of bundle of sticksism is the domination of all European peoples, under one, and for the German peoples to have this Lebensraum, to be able to continue to reproduce and just expand their population, and just have like, just continue growing as like continue growing the German state. When you talk like, what's the end goal of conservatism? It's to ensure everyone, like, okay, all modern ideologies, from progressivism to conservatism, all want people's lives to be better, right? Those are the things. Do you even understand what liberalism even is? Okay, what's your definition of liberalism? Define it for me, and then I can tell you that liberalism itself is also like, I guarantee you, the definition of liberalism that you are going to suggest to me is a religious idea. It's not like, you can't scientifically prove the values of liberalism. We'll all wait for you. We'll all wait for you, Abhishek. Um, yeah, I'm about to cook. This is the my degree isn't in political philosophy, but like, I cook in politics. It's my bread and butter, is what it is. I will say, I want to share to you guys, while we're waiting for Abhishek to write a response, in terms of defining liberalism for us, because obviously I don't understand. So let's see what definition he comes up with. I think it's amazing to me, like, from this list, right? It's amazing to me, like, almost 3,000 people, almost 3,000 Filipinos watch my videos. Almost 2,000, like, almost 2,000, like, over 2,000 Canadians, almost 2,000 British people. Like, it's the fact that this is my, like, even this, right? Like, apparently 332 people from Japan watch my video. I think it's just amazing to me that I would have never, in my current position right now, as a university student who was going to, who may have gone into a school, I would have never gotten the platform. There is no world in which I would have talked to 332 Japanese people about Christian anime, right? Let's see. Liberalism tries to create a public and private split, and tries to create a neutral space for the best ideas via civil discussion of masses to reach the best idea, instead of letting one ideology dominate the full space. Hey, there you go. It's a religion. Can you the reason why is because, again, like, is that scientifically proven to be the best system in the world? No, it isn't. The only reason why, like, that it is, and don't even let the different ideas to be reached to the masses. And this is one of the failures of liberalism, right? Which is like, it tries to say that's the end goal, right? The end goal of liberalism, according to your definition, Abhishek. Uh, your definition of liberalism means that you're trying to find the best ideas via civil discussion. Um, Meaning that, like, okay, well, the best ideas are constantly changed, which sucks. It sucks. Because what if the majority of people, okay, if the majority of people, like, this is one of the failures of liberalism. If the majority of people, like what happened in Germany in 1930, in the 1930s, started to say, okay, I think it's a good idea that we start genociding this particular group of people. Well, that's obviously not the best idea, but that's what happened. Like civil, as a result of civil discussion amongst the masses, right? As a result of civil discussion amongst the masses, they all decided to agree that genociding this particular group of people was perfectly fine. So liberalism has failed. And there's that idea as well, which is like this idea that there is a best idea in the first place. How do you define best idea? Um, how do you define neutral? What is neutral? Um, how do you define public and private split? Like what's the difference between the public and the private? So there you go. Even in a democracy, there are derived from human rights. And there are safeguards to protect against things like this. Human rights, again, it's a religious idea. You're not like, where does this idea of human rights come from? It's like you just pulled it out of nowhere. So there are some honest atheists who say like, who do admit that this idea of human rights, this idea that we should be, this is an anomaly in human history, because for most of human history, there is no such thing as human rights. It's a religious idea, right? That the prophets of the United Nations all came together and then tried to come up with this, like tried to write this religious text known as the UN Convention of Human Rights, and then they tried to propagate this throughout the rest of the world. Not all countries, not all countries believe that there should be human rights, right? So what? And you're saying that human rights are a good thing. Well, what if they're not? What if they're not a good thing? Like have you ever considered that, Abhishek? Of course, as a Christian, I think like human rights are a good thing, right? But these are the problems of liberalism, which is you cannot scientifically prove that human rights are a good thing. What you can do is you can take a religion like Christianity, you can take the ideas that Christianity talks about, right? Which is that because you are made in the image of God, you should be treated like you are made in the image of God. There is no perfect ideology or morality, but it doesn't mean you can just say there is no objective morality. Anything and everything are equal. Well, how can you prove that? And you can't. I don't think. This is the thing, right? Which is, I think you can only prove an objective morality with if you have a story like Christianity, or if you have like a construct like God, because if God's the one who enforces morality, then that's the thing, right? But unfortunately, like your liberalism can't prove that, right? And as much as you can cry and scream about it and like just keep saying we could continue this until we're blue in the face. Like I don't think you can you cannot prove that you cannot prove through the method of liberalism that you cannot prove through the method of liberalism that a particular morality is objective. So yeah, it's just opinion at this point. And this is why I'm not a liberal. Like I used to think this way. I used to think this way, and it was cringe. Because I realized that I couldn't really do it. So, and you kind of do need you need a god to prove an objective morality. Or otherwise, like you could go the meta-modernist route. Christian anime podcast. I suggest you watch a video by SFO on the Goonergate drama. He talks about all these things, especially regarding Christians who are very on board with censorship for their morality. Well, I agree with censorship because it's true. Like I I support censorship, and Christians should support censorship in some cases, like in regards to like obscenity, because it's cringe and it's like it's not good for society that we're promoting these sorts of things. All right, that's enough. That's enough for you, Abhishek. That's perfectly fine. You're always welcome here, right? You're like no hate against you. Like we ain't gonna ban you, for example. You're always welcome to join on stream, Abhishek. But these are like, you have to understand that this is like this is our ideology, and yeah. Speaking of which, let's end on a good note. Um, let's end on two notes. Actually, I do want to react to this because it was kind of funny. Um, things podcast son is right about ideology. Things he is wrong about. Chisato. What am I wrong about with Chisato? What in the world? Paleon's remnant. That's ban worthy right there. Welcome to stream, Clockwork. Welcome to stream. So yeah, I think okay, this is the other thing, right, as well. Like the fact that 200 people from Italy watch my videos, again, it's just like it's amazing to me. And the fact like 30,000 Americans as well, almost 30,000 Americans. People who I would never have met in real life. I might change my mind, Pellion's Remnant, now that you mentioned that. Legend has it that 3.9% of your total views last month were given by people who have stabbed another person in a back alley. You what, mate? That's the percentage of British people? Oh, I see. Yeah, that's another thing, right? 2,000 British people. Oh, here you go. 1,000 Australians. Have I even met 1,000 Australians? Have I even met 1,000 Australians who I could go out randomly on the street and just like yap about Christian anime for 10 minutes? And like this is one of the most amazing things. Welcome Escara, by the way. Welcome. Like 700 South Africans, 900 Germans, 300 Mexicans. Like it's just welcome Micah. I think it's just like it's these sorts of things, right? Which is like all glory to God. The fact that I have a platform which is able to reach all of these so many people. I think it just goes to show how amazing the internet is. The fact that this can happen in the first place. The fact that I can yap. Kyle Rayner is Ireland. I don't think you even make it on the list. Because YouTube only does it as like top 50. Let's see. I'll tell you my the alleged top 50 countries that show up on my YouTube analytics. I don't think Ireland shows up unless I'm seriously mistaken, and I'll have to apologize to you, Mr. Rayner. Let's see. Full list. Control F, Ireland. Oh no, Ireland's on there. 147 people from Ireland have watched in the last month. I just looked through this list. Okay, I just looked through this list and it amazes me. So obviously top 47,000 alleged. Okay, it was boosted by the Sakamoto Days video. So it's United States at the top, and then around 5,000 people from the Philippines. 3,500 from Canada, 3,500 from India, 3,200 from the United Kingdom. Wait, let's do this as content type videos only. Oh, there's a lot of Indians who apparently watch my shorts. So there you go. I have no problem if you want to practice your faith or even spread to more people, but you do understand what happens under theocracy or feudal system. Have you studied 10th grade French Revolution? I've studied university grade French Revolution, and some of the things that happened in the French Revolution were the French Revolution, in my opinion, only happened because of very rare circumstances. If feudalism was so bad, why did it last for hundreds and hundreds of years? If feudalism was so bad, why is it that only the French revolted and literally every country stayed the same? The French Revolution only happened not because of ideology, like it's because there were like this ideology that was being spread, but purely it was because of like my opinion on it as a me acting as a historian, is that the French Revolution only happened because of economic reasons, rather than like anything, like rather than people being like, oh, we're anti feudalism. And the religion that that rose up as a result of the French, you know why Napoleon rose in the first place? It's because like it's because people wanted like a dictatorship, like people wanted an emperor in the first place. So like that's the thing. The effing clergy literally took everything from the peasants. No, it wasn't. Like the clergy in Paris, yeah, sure, yeah, in Paris, that sucks. But for the vast majority in the countryside, like there are a lot of people in rural areas of France that supported the church, and the reason why was the church wasn't so corrupt in like the rural areas of France. Yeah, of course, yeah, there was corruption in the capital and maybe in some of the major cities, but you'll notice in the French Revolution that like a lot of people a lot of people still supported the church in the countryside. So there you go. Um, and also, not to mention the fact that the French like spent millions and millions of like they spent so much money on supporting the American Revolution. No wonder, no wonder that the economic conditions were so bad in France that the people revolted. So like it's I don't think it's because of feudalism, right? That's my opinion as like as a professional historian and as a person who wrote on the French Revolution and was graded by a professor, and they're like, "Yep, that sounds good." So, I also wrote on like the Russian Revolution as well, purely because of economic reasons as well. It wasn't because of any. Of course, there was like this growing anti-feudalism movement in Russia. But for the vast majority of Russians, they were quite content with under feudalism. It was just as a result of the economic conditions that were brought about as a result of the First World War. Those like the First World War was a key contender in terms of like the Russian Revolution actually sparking in the first place. And again, as I said, I've written on this. My professor, like I got a distinction on this from my professor. So don't tell me, oh, 10th grade French Revolution. Well, I did history. I do history as a university student. So yeah. There was serfdom in feudal France. The peasants was turned for peasants for eternity. Included you're just typing all over the place, Abhishek. So yeah. All right. Let's see. So top countries: United States. In the thousands are Philippines, Canada, United Kingdom, India, Australia, Brazil, and Germany. Under sub 1,000 is like Germany, South Africa, Indonesia, Poland, Malaysia, Singapore. The fact that 453 Singaporeans watch this, or 383, like I want to see the Japan number go up increasingly more, because I want to see like Japanese people actually like come. Is Girls Last Tour Christian? I included it in my top 10 Christian anime video. There you go. I don't think I'll do a separate video on it because it's not algorithm worthy. I don't think so. Yeah. This is in the 300s now, so under 300, which is Mexico, France, Romania, Netherlands, Italy, Nigeria, Puerto Rico, Sweden, New Zealand, Vietnam, Trinidad and Tobago, Jamaica, Finland, and Ireland. Man, Kyle Rayner, you gotta share these videos with more of your friends. You gotta increase your Irish representation. It's like only 107 views from Ireland. So, and I betcha, Mr. Rayner, that you made up 100. You're the one person who made up like 107 of those views. No, the fact that Vietnam beats Irish representation, Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica. The fact that those countries beat you, that's disappointing. That's disappointing. Who is the one person addicted to this channel in Trinidad? I don't know. But yeah, 269 Romanians. Maybe one day I will get lucky. Like, come on, man. You gotta increase Irish representation on here. Okay, so people from Spain, watch me. Greece, Norway, 98 people from Norway, 96 people from Norway, 78 people from the United Arab Emirates, Thailand, 75, Serbia, 70, 66 people from Hong Kong, 65 people from Austria, 65 people from freaking Madagascar, 59 from Belgium, 54 from Switzerland, 52 from Croatia, 49 from Bangladesh, 48 from Denmark, 40, that's insane, 45 people from the Bahamas. There were 45 views from people in the Bahamas who watched this video. 42 from Kenya, 38 Russians, 35 Chileans. We've got like Hungarian representation, like 32 Hungarians, 29 Czechians, 27 people from South Korea, 27 people from Portugal. Apparently it's like 60 something. When I outputted it to Google Docs, that's what it told me. Around 60 60 countries in total. But it only shows me on YouTube Analytics, it only shows me the top 50 countries. So there you go. Let's go to North Korea so we can see it on stats. I want to see like if North Korea like that's actually the dream. We like this is one of the things which is most fascinating about North Korea, which is like there are more people now in North Korea who have actually seen a Bible than any point in history. So, well, I'm excited. Like I'm excited for the future of revival in different countries. We already see it in China, where like there's like the fastest growing church in China. We see it in India, where Christianity is exploding as well, particularly among the lower castes. So yeah. No. So if a Christian theocracy happens, that the state will not let others exist. No, that's not necessarily true. So I agree. The model of Christian theocracy, which I subscribe to, is this model of theonomy, which is like it would still like tolerate other people. It's just that the laws would just be influenced by Christianity. That's purely it. Like that's all theocracy means to me, right? Like I know you have in your mind, Abhishek, you have this caricature in your mind that theocracy is like, oh, we would be no, I wouldn't. So I support constitutional monarchy as well, but I support this idea of theocracy, which is there's this guy called Joel Webben who pushes forward this idea, because our idea, we believe that the world is sorry, I believe, I'm of Joel Webben's camp, which is like this idea, this post millennial view of the world, that the world is going to increasingly become more and more Christian as time goes on, and to the point that the church will have one world government, and the church will and when Jesus returns, Jesus will be meeting to his church. Yeah, sorry, if you weren't aware, I'm a post millennial. Whoops. um I am post millennial, so I'm very different from like, so a lot of like American Christians, they would be like pre millennial, and they'd be like, nope, we just don't bother with the rest of the world. The rest of the world's gonna pass away anyway, which means we don't want to be increasing power in institutions. But I believe like I support the idea of like theocracy, in that sense that all of the laws are influenced by Christianity. So when we talk about the pro life issue, the abortion issue, right? I think the state should be pro life because that's what Christian values say. Or for example, like taxation, or like these different ideas of tax, like even under Christian theocracy, like people would still like disagree in terms of like whether or not the state should be more capitalist or less capitalist, right? Those are the sorts of things. Ancient Jewish theocracy tolerated other religions in Israel, even if the Jewish had no relationship with strangers, as seen in ancient covenant. Hey, there you go. So read Hunter Baker's The End of Secularism for a take on how Christianity can support coexistence. NK have shared responses to the Bible radio series. I don't know what the Bible radio series is. Is NHK Christian? No, I don't think so. Welcome to the NHK, I think is the name of the anime. Sorry, I won't comment. This is my policy on, even though I said no, I retract that statement. This is my policy on all anime which I haven't watched or I haven't even touched. I make no comment because it's like, it's your own discernment. Like the point of this channel is, of course, I give you recommendations for different Christian anime, and that's one part of it. But also, it's also trying to help build up your guys' discernment, right? I want you guys to also discern for yourself, which is like, is this a Christian anime? Is this an anime which I should be watching as a Christian, right? That's your prerogative to do so. I assume, like, considering the majority of you guys are probably over 18, like you should have your own discernment for it. Couldn't you say feudal Japan is a theocracy because of its structure? If so, then is it an example of religious tolerance for other faiths until Tokugawa? Oh, I guess so. Um, I can't like fully comment on it because my knowledge of Japanese feudalism is not too big. It's not too deep. That's for sure. That's for sure. All right. Well, um, last thing which I want to cover today was just this stupid drama on Twitter. So allegedly, Abhishek asks, wouldn't even this kind of monarchy mean certain things would not even be able to change just because the Bible says so? And you know what? I don't care. So what? If it's true, if it's true, then we shouldn't. Of course, we should keep it. Like, for example, with homosexuality, right? Like the fact that I think like on values such as homosexuality, it's either true that it's either true that it's wrong for a man and a man to get together, or it's false. It's either true or false, right? And you can prove like that's it's either true or false that life starts at conception. It's either true or false that taxing people incredibly heavily in order to create a welfare state is true or false. Like that's true. Like I support monarchy because like I don't think it's if the masses say something stupid, um, for example, like if the masses start saying, "Oh, we should genocide this particular group of people," like what is happening, what happened in many different countries around the world, well, what's stopping the masses? And I think monarchy is the way to go. So I do support monarchy, um, in that sense as well. So there you go. There you go. All right. So, final thing which we'll cover today is this particular ad. So apparently, Japanese feminists have gone insane. There's nothing wrong with homosexuality. It's not incest. Oh boy, oh boy. If there's nothing wrong with homosexuality, Abhishek, then why is it that homosexual couples have a higher rate, experience a higher rate of domestic violence, experience a higher rate of the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases? Why is it that homosexuals are more likely to divorce? Why is it that homosexuals are more likely to engage in polygamous relationships? There's obviously something wrong with homosexual relationships. So, and the fact that you're saying that there's nothing wrong means that you're just being dishonest. You haven't done enough research, and you just don't know. You just don't know. Gay men have even less domestic violence. I don't know where you're getting your statistics from. Give me a second. I'm gonna fact check you right now. Rate of domestic violence amongst. Wait. I have this on a PowerPoint. I'm pretty sure, which should be saved. Oh no, I don't have access to it, do I? Oh, it's so Jover. Domestic violence rates amongst same-sex couples. Let's see. Oh, I just want you to give me a graph. I just want you to give me a graph, please. That looks about right. That looks very professional. There is another graph I'm looking for, but this might be it. This might be it. Yeah, never mind. Well, this looks like a pretty good graph. Allegedly, this is from the National Violence Against Women Survey. But as you can see from this graph, gay couples have higher rates of domestic violence, even amongst like men, both men and women. Aze, I wouldn't say that. So, of course, like God, okay. So, first of all, God does say it's wrong. However, we also, like, there's a reason why. There's a reason why it's wrong. So, I think that's one of the mistakes that Christians make when they go out into the public square. When you go out into the public square, you need to be able to defend your position well. And the way that you defend it is also defend your position from a position of secular. Like you have to prove it as well. Like it just because God said so. Like if God told me something, of course I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna trust Him. But there are reasons why He may have said that. So give me a second. Do I put the graph on here? Surely I do. Oh no, I may not have put the graph up. That's great. That's great. Okay, well, that's tough. It is what it is. Even if the overall rate is higher than heterosexual, doesn't mean every single one of them is a partner beater. And it's like, no, like what we're saying here is the fact that it is disproportionately higher than a straight couple means that there's something wrong with that. Like, if if it is so that it's the disproportionately higher rate is the problem here, not the fact that it exists. Okay, like sin's always going to exist, right? So the domestic violence still exists amongst straight couples, but the fact that it's disproportionately higher means that there's something wrong. Also, the fact that let's do STD. How high is the rate of STD transmission between straight and homosexual couples? Yeah, and the fact, okay, the fact, Abhishek, that you said that it didn't like that gay couples had lower domestic violence rates means that you don't know what you're talking about. So um, that's do 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 do. Do we have a graph of same-sex couples? Oh, pain Pecco. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Cool. So I don't, yeah. Thank you, Abhishek. Sorry, I don't want to be too mean, but like it's this sort of stuff, right? Which is like, if you can't just say stuff and like not back it up. All right. Last thing, let's point and laugh at this. Allegedly, Japanese feminists were like, "Oh, this adds too sexual, like the sexualization of women." Blah 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 blah. Okay, let's watch this. I want to see you guys. I want to hear your guys' perspective on this ad. Is this ad too sexual, or is it that Japanese leftists are brain dead? So there you go. It's woman crying as a result of watching that TV drama, and then she's opening up. She's blushing a bit, and then she's drinking the soup. She's got the noodles. Maybe that's too sec. Maybe that's not good enough. That's not okay. Let's continue. All right, she's got her mouth open. All right. Okay, cool. She's taking a bite. Okay, cool. And she's looking at the noodles. Then she's eating the noodles again. And then she's left the noodles. She's left the noodles. She's left the noodles. And then she's okay, cool. That's the ad. Man, I really wanted to make a separate video on this. But when people say garbage like this, like, oh, this woman was far too sexualized. She is just happy that she had a nice dinner. It's a normal video. Okay, the reason why I didn't make a video on this because I wanted to like verify for myself that genuinely like Japanese leftists were angry about this because from just me looking at some of the quote retweets, it didn't look like people were super super angry about this. Like it could be it could be something else. Like I needed to see screenshots of I need to actually see the screenshots of people like saying that this was too sexualized. So I didn't. That's why I didn't make the video. But the fact that people are like, I know cultural standards and sensuality are different in surprising ways, but this seems tame. No, like this is like this is what happens when you are too addicted to corn. If you are too addicted to corn, you just see things in places which you just really ought not to see. So, all right, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. I was going to do a drawing stream today, but I just wanted to yap about Sakamoto Days because yeah, I had thoughts about it. Other than that, I hope you have a lovely rest of your week. Take care on your weekend. I hope you all have fun. Take care of yourself. Japanese leftists must go 7 nosebleed every time they go into Taco Bell. Yep. Thank you very much to our channel members, Paleon's Remnant, Valorian Central, and Ian. I really appreciate you guys. You guys are the best. And helping me like actually make this thing into a reality and make this thing into an actual job. So you have my sincerest thanks to every single one of you. I hope God bless everyone, even you, Abhishek. We all love you. Well, you know what? We'll be praying for you as well, Abhishek. That you may know the peace and the joy that we as Christians also have from our Lord Jesus Christ. So see ya. Take care.